Test.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. I can hear you too.
Very nice.
Clearly. Like responding to you. Okay, let's see if anybody comes in.
It's also lunchtime, I guess.
Eating is lame. No, I'm just kidding. Everyone's like, shit cakes. How dare you say that?
Does it make a difference if I put like one of my earphones here? Hello? Hi?
Is that the microphone?
I don't know which one is the microphone on, so...
There's some zzzz sound.
Oh, shit. What if I do it like back here?
It's the same.
Hello? Oh, okay, then whatever. I'm gonna bother.
Okay, we got a few more seconds before it becomes 12:15. We're gonna start on time. Okay, I think we'll start.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Cass. I'm a pain and movement therapist, and over on the other side, we also have my collaborator, Jingyun.
Hi, I'm Jingyun. I'm a voice teacher and performer. Oh, hi, Chloe.
Hi, Chloe. Okay, so yesterday we asked you if you have any questions for us about voice practice, training, and anything related to that. And we got some questions, so let's get into it. Jingyun, can you bring up the first question?
So the first question we have is... Dun, dun, dun.
Bring it up.
Here.
Okay, how much time dedicated to voice practice is enough in a week? Okay, so this is super dependent on what you're practicing for and also where in your journey, in your voice practice journey you are. You know, are you first starting out voice practice? Have you been performing or practicing voice for a long time, or speaking, whatever, voice acting for a long time? And prior to this current time that you're asking about now, I can only take this current time that you're asking about. How much have you been practicing? And also, what are you practicing for? So depending on your skill level right now, you might need to practice more, and then you might need to take into consideration more mechanically or physiologically, can my body take these demands that I'm asking of it? Okay, so is your body able to withstand the stresses of practicing this amount of times in a week, and so on? And then, is that enough time for you to practice the skills that you want to achieve in your voice practice? So let's say you want to sing a specific note, or you want to be able to do a certain maneuver, or say a specific line or phrase. How are you able to say the phrase in terms of levels of satisfaction you have? Like, is it a 2 out of 10 satisfaction right now? And how do you get to a 10 out of 10 satisfaction? How many times do you have to practice in a week to then reach that, like 3 out of 10 and 4 and 5 and 6 and so on until 10 out of 10 satisfaction within your current capacity? So what your body can do and withstand in terms of stresses. So it really depends on all of those things. So yeah, how much time dedicated depends on all of those things. You have to make that decision on your own.
So putting it directly into an example of someone having a voice performance or speaking event to work towards. Let's say in 1 month's time, you have an event where you have to, let's just use performance, for example. You have to sing for 10 minutes on stage by yourself, solo singing. So then what you want to do in the 1 month leading up to that is to make sure that maybe in the first week you learn the repertoire, the music, the diction really well, so that you learn it mechanically, like what Cass has already said. And then after that, you can tackle the more technical side, like vocal production, the techniques that you need to support a certain note, the ways that you might want to phrase something expressively. And then in the second and third week, you would then be working in, probably in your rehearsals as well, how then you would bring this into a stage performance setting. Of course, as Cass mentioned, depending on how long you've been in voice work and how long you've been practicing the thing that you need to perform in 1 month's time, also changes how much time you need to dedicate to voice practice. In general, you would want to not practice every single day because you would need time to have vocal rest. And I think also as a voice user, you need to think about your daily demand of voice use. So for example, if you are a teacher in a school and then you have to speak 5 hours a day, but then you have to make time for, say, 20 minutes of practice a day and then 1 hour of rehearsal, you have to make sure that you make time for rest, perhaps during the weekend. This is to ensure that you have time to reset, which we'll talk a little bit more about in our next few questions, I think. Do you have anything to add?
No, I think so. So pretty much, how long have you been doing voice work for? What are you working towards, and where are you at in terms of reaching that goal? What is your current capacity? So what can your body tolerate? And in terms of like, what can your body tolerate? And then how much time do you need to recover in order for your body to recover from what you ask of it as well? And then, and then taking into account your daily voice use and daily stresses and everything that you do in life, like how tiring is that on your body as well, other than what's more specific to voice use. And then eventually also like rehearsals and things like that, like they also will take up increased voice use, so that your voice practice in that week will change as well. Okay, so shall we move on to the second question?
Yes, the second question. Let's find it. On the topic of practice.
Okay, is there such thing as too much practice? Okay, the short answer is yes. But let's expand on that. So in the previous question, we talked about capacity, and everybody has different amounts of capacity depending on your background in terms of voice practice or physical practice. So your too much is very different from someone else's too much. So in general, there's capacity, and there's also your demands that you place on your capacity. And in general, when you place demands on your capacity, it takes energy, and then that in that day, or in that week, it goes down a little bit, and then you rest, and then it goes back up, and then you recover. And sometimes that means you get stronger, or you remain the same, depending on the amount of recovery that you have. But preferably you go stronger or get better. So if your demands are always above your capacity and you don't make enough time to recover, that's when you start to feel like, oh, my throat is really sore, or I feel very fatigued, tired. Waking up in the morning, I don't feel refreshed. There's a lot more variation in terms of your quality of sound produced. Like I could sing this much more easily in 2 weeks ago. Why is it now I'm not singing it as well as I thought I would? So I think that's when it gets to that too much practice zone. If you start to notice the signs of fatigue, or the signs of sometimes just general, not just vocal fatigue, just life, body, physical fatigue. So from a more physiological, mechanical point of view, you might feel all these things in your body. And if you don't recover enough, that's when injury can happen as well. And then from a more psychological, emotional perspective, if you sing the same song over and over again, or if you say the same lines over and over again, there's going to be a point where it's just this line or this song feels so stale that you're just you're trying to breathe life into whatever you're trying to perform or do. And yeah, it gets to a point where it's just like, this is so stale. Like, why do I want to do this again? I don't want to do this again. If you have those thoughts of like, oh, why must I do this again? That also could be a sign of too much practice. Like you're just not enjoying the activity anymore. You're not enjoying practice anymore. Yeah, that's also a sign of too much practice. So yes, there is such a thing as too much practice. And in order to have a sustainable practice, because this is something you want to do for a long time, I think, you want to make sure that you're being sustainable in terms of your practice in these ways. Make sure you recover well. Your demands placed on yourself are not too much all the time, way more than your capacity. Make sure you get enough time to recover and grow. And then also take mental breaks from practice, because that can be very helpful. Just like, this song still feels nice, instead of like, this song, or like this line, or this script, or whatever it is. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. By the way, Chloe, if you have any questions based on what we're sharing right now, go ahead and like pop it in like the chat, and we'll answer that as well. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I was thinking also about something that I was talking to one of my. Oh, hello, Tro Music. Hi.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. We're talking about, is there such thing as too much practice? And then Kes has shared her part of it, which you can rewatch later when we post this video up. Anyway, I was thinking about this conversation I had with a student who has not been taking lessons with me for about 2 months because she was taking a break. And then when she came back, she said, oh, actually, I already memorized this song. I can just sing it by memory. But when she did that, she fell back into previous habits of just going on autopilot. So I think one thing to think about in terms of how much practice you're putting in is not just the amount of time of practice or the amount of things you're practicing, but how you are practicing it, because it's important that the way that you are vocalizing something or phrasing something or even expressing a certain like phrase when you speak is the way that you would be to your satisfaction. Oh, hi, Hao! So it has to be something that you're satisfied with, or at least it's something that technically is efficient and will carry you towards, let's say, your 1 month down the road engagement. And I think also when we think about too much practice, it has to depend also on how you feel after, let's say, 20 minutes of practice. So what you feel means, for example, are my vocal folds still closing nicely? Am I getting a little bit scratchy and airy? Am I not able to access like the full range of my vocal timbre or my loudness? And if so, then that might be a sign for you to take a break. It doesn't mean that you can't practice for the rest of the day. You can actually use it to take a mental break, like Kat says, like just go walk around, eat, do something else, and then schedule another shorter time later in the day to practice again, so that you still clock in the number of hours or number of things you want to do for practice in a day. So in terms of how much, if there's such a thing as too much practice, yes, it can be too much. It depends on how you are aware of what your capacities are in terms of a voice user, what your needs are in your daily life in a week, and also in terms of how you're using your voice during your practice. If anyone has any questions or thoughts from what we just shared, please pop it down below. We're also answering live questions. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I think we have answered this question. Let's move on to the next question.
Okay, next one. We actually have 2 related questions, but I'm gonna send the first one over. Hold on. Oh, no, I do not want to delete this.
Hello, Mi Xiang Pipa Gao.
Hi, Ming Xiang. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so the next question, the third one that we're answering, what are some good ways to rest your voice? And do you need to stop entirely? Where is the rest of? Do you need to entirely stop using your voice? So as we mentioned in the previous question, depending on how you feel during your practice, if you feel a little bit scratchy, like your vocal range is limited, meaning say if, for example, usually if you're a singer, you can sing from a G to a G, and now currently after practicing, you can only sing from like a C to a E without feeling tight, without feeling airy, without feeling a little bit muted, then it might be a sign that it's a time for you to stop practice for a while or to rest your voice. This does not mean that you have to stop vocalizing entirely, because there's something called the semi-occluded vocal tract exercise, SOVT for short, that you can use. Oh, big that you can use to help you calm down your voice. So even if you're not a very high intensity voice user, you can use SOVTs to help you cool down after a day's work of using your voice. So an example of it would be doing gentle sighs a little bit above your vocal range and then down below your vocal range to kind of relax the vocal folds. Another example is the lip trill. So it's like a... If you can't really do this, you can push your lips here and then push it in and go like... And another couple stuff is you can use a straw and then bring a cup of water in and you bubble like woo. What the semi-occluded vocal tract exercises does or do is that semi-occluded means partially covered vocal tract. This creates a little bit of a back pressure from the air that's coming through, and then this comes back to your vocal folds to help balance out the subglottic pressure over here. And this allows your vocal folds to firstly close a little bit better. Secondly, with the repeated backflow of air, it also massages your vocal folds, to keep it a little bit more supple. So if you are a voice user of any form and you feel like at the end of the day you are a little bit fatigued, a little bit scratchy, or very high up in your larynx up here, this is something you can incorporate into your routine. And in terms of a heavier voice user, for example, a singer, performer, or a public speaker, what you can then think about is also the idea of vocal rest. Meaning, after a long days of work, if you're at home, try not to use your voice to speak to anyone. And also, you can also incorporate stuff like steaming. You can Google how to steam to help vocal fold recovery. And hydration and nutrition is a huge part of how you're going to rest your voice. As Cass mentioned earlier, your capacity is used up when you place demands on it, but when you recover, it can be higher up here. So that's what you're trying to do when you rest, when you hydrate, when you feed yourself. Yeah. So do you need to entirely stop using your voice? If you feel like your speaking voice is heavily affected after your voice use, then yes, probably after doing your SOVT, hydrating, eating well, resting, you would want to be on vocal rest. You can look up how to do vocal rest. Basically, just go to sleep. I think it's important to remember not to whisper as well if you're vocal resting, because whispering actually tightens the vocal folds a lot more and can create more strain and friction than if you were vocalizing normally. Yeah. So when in doubt, also check with a professional, like a doctor. Yeah.
Yes, if you feel like you need extra help, or even if you've done all these things and you feel like something still feels a bit off, you definitely contact a professional if you're doubtful of how you feel or that you feel like something else is going on. Yeah. So I don't think I have anything to add to that. Oh, okay. So your capacity is filled by what you can do, and there are some things that you find easier to do than others. So maybe singing at a pitch that's very, very at the end of your range is much more tiring and will take more of your capacity than if you're singing something that's really, really easy for you. So you can probably still sing things that are easier for you. It's just this is like a 1 out of 10 in terms of fatigue to my voice. I can do that, and then you can just do that less than usual. So in general, if your practice is, let's say you practice for 30 minutes a day and you're going to be singing in end ranges of your pitch, so really low, really high, or really difficult maneuvers, or let's say for speakers you do really loud, really animated type things, or just things that you don't feel like where your voice tends to sit in your regular practice. What you can do is just practice things that are more comfortable, where your voice tends to regularly sit, or that feels more natural to you, or if you're a singer, ranges that are very comfortable for you, that don't put too much strain. So then you're still vocalizing, practicing, enjoying what you like to do, because it is an activity that you like to do, I think. And Yeah, so you can still do those things. It's not like all vocalization is tiring. Yeah, and as you expand your ability to vocalize, as more things become easier to you, this maintenance that Jingyun and I can sometimes call this kind of maintenance range will expand. So more and more things will become like a 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And this leads us to the next question. Also, hi Prashan and Crystal and Myra. I might have
Yeah, hello everybody who joined. Hello Christine.
And Christine.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello everybody who joined.
That we got
Some people probably left.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the last question that we got from you all is how to recover after exhausting your voice or intense overuse. Now, Cass mentioned about how if, for example, you feel a little bit hi Crystal. Yeah, if you feel a little bit tired, it's not to say that all vocalization is gonna cause harm to you or be bad for you. Quotation marks because bad. Okay, we'll talk about it next time. It's a totally different topic. Depends on what is comfortable for you and familiar to you as a voice user. So to talk about what intense voice use might be for me, because I'm a Western classical trained person, if I'm doing something like metal or rock singing with distortion, my capacity for that is like 5 minutes, and then I start feeling scratchy and I phlegm and I feel like I need to drink like a whole bottle of water. But for someone who is very, very accustomed to metal and rock music, they could go like 1-2 hours in a rock band practice with amps and everything and feel completely fine. So I think it's important for you to know what your like comfort zone is and familiar zone is, such that you know what intense then means in relation to what you're used to. Now, when we come back to the idea of how do you recover after an exhausting time of using your voice, we mentioned that earlier you can use the SOVT semi-occluded vocal tract exercises, which you can watch from maybe 5 minutes ago. And then remember to hydrate. And if you are a really heavy voice user, then you might want to consider steaming or even potentially taking lozenges to help yourself during your vocal rest. Vocal rest meaning when you don't speak at all. So for a more detailed rundown of that, go back 5 or 6 minutes ago. Yeah. Do you have anything to
add? Maybe we can talk a little bit, since we have time, we can talk a bit about like the whole bad thing. Yeah. Okay. So, so what do you mean by that?
So when we talk about like bad vocalization, usually people associate it with harsher sounds, a more kind of sound. So for example, what I'm doing here is I'm kind of constricting my laryngeal muscles here. But then I'm also making sure that I'm supporting with this part of my body. It can be potentially quite strenuous if you do not support air pressure with, so for example, if I did, this is a lot more strenuous for me. So just because something is strenuous and sounds like it's going to be tiring for your vocal folds or even your false folds after a certain period of time doesn't mean that it's bad, because the same sound or a similar sound can be created with more resources in your body.
Yeah, I feel like next time we need to do like a warning, like loud sounds may happen. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I think that's good for people to know. Like, not all harsh sounds don't mean bad sounds. And also, bad is very hard to define in terms of, again, going back to the very, very first question where we talked about capacity, one person's easy could be another person's difficult, like what Jingyun said about, for someone who's doing, what was it they said, Western, or just, classical. Okay, let's say like Western classical. Yeah, like, that could be very comfortable for somebody else, but not so comfortable for her. She gets all phlegmy and foamy. And that doesn't mean that that's bad for her. It's just something that she's not used to. So it's very hard to define what exactly is bad, and it may not be very helpful actually to define things as bad or good in terms of voice. Maybe it's just like what helps you, what assists you, what's familiar, what's unfamiliar, what's comfortable, what's uncomfortable, and if it is uncomfortable, how can you make it more comfortable for you? Yeah.
Yeah, I love this idea that it's about vocal efficiency rather than harmonizing. We have a question from someone in the live chat.
Oh, we do?
It disappeared.
I'm blind. What?
It disappeared. It was something about how do body aches or headaches, I think, affect vocalization. Where did you go to? It was by Crystal, I think. Okay, anyway.
Okay,
Crystal,
but you saw it. Okay.
Answered. Our question is, how do body aches affect vocalization? Do you want to
Okay. Okay, so body aches, I think in general, when you feel body aches, just imagine going through your day with neck pain. Okay, everything that you have to do, turning your head, looking up, looking down, is. Oh, somebody thinks it disappeared.
Yeah.
The question. Oh, okay.
You can retype it. Answer it.
Yeah.
It's not the right one.
So going through something like, neck pain in a day, you can imagine, or if you've had neck pain before, you know how much it can affect just your daily life. And something like vocalization is something that you need to pay a lot of attention to sometimes when you're doing more difficult things. It's like a very intense coordination physical exercise. It can be. So that can affect your ability to focus. It can affect your ability to feel comfortable and at ease in order to then channel air well. It can affect how you sense your own body. So the thing about pain, if you're already going through aches and pains, is it can take your attention to focus on that. If you're in a room where there's someone playing really loud music, it's very hard for you to focus on other things, and then you might want to turn that music down in order to just be able to focus on something else. So it's much like that. When you have aches and pains, it's very hard to listen to other things, which then might affect your ability to do things that might seem easy to you. So that's how, in a more general, broad way, how it might affect vocalization. Yeah, your attention might not be as focused on your vocalization, and and it might just feel like it's difficult to do the same things. Yeah.
For myself, when I rock climb, sometimes when I climb too hard, right, my legs over here hurt so much, and it's just so difficult for me to feel a fuller sense of support from my entire torso when I do sing. So that's how I experience body aches. I do have some students who practice sports, and then when they come into class, they're like, oh, I'm aching from soccer, and then I feel like this lower half of my body just feels really stiff or like really tight, and I can't use it, and then they end up having to sing a little bit more here. So I guess as a voice user, what you can do is to be aware of how the ache might be affecting you, and then see whether or not you can remind yourself, even though, yes, that part feels a little bit nebulous and not normal right now, how can I ground my voice, ground my air, and my support such that I use my voice in the most efficient manner in the capacity that I have right now. It might not feel like you're optimal, but it's the best that you can do right now, and that's enough.
Yeah, and also if you are feeling any physical aches and pains, there are things you can do to down-regulate, technical term. It's just bringing the pain down. Now it might feel like a 7 out of 10, my neck feels like I can't do anything. And you might be able to to use some like a release ball or something just to help with reducing the tension. So what that does is that pressure on that part of the body will just remind your body that, oh, actually this is quite tense. We can allow it to relax a bit more. That's just what the pressure does. So I'm not going to go into the super technical mechanisms of how that happens because we are running out of time. But yeah, it helps remind your body that it can be relaxed. That's the main thing. And then another thing is you can do like very light movements and stretches just to also get your body to be a little bit more relaxed before you start vocalizing. So just pay attention to the aches and pains. Think about what ranges of motion can I do right now? What is available to me? And then how can I bring more ease to my body? Not just like, oh, this is achy, I want to like get it off. No, usually when you keep triggering that achiness or pain, yeah, it's more likely to get more achy and more painful. So try and find ways on like, how can I get a little bit more relaxed just before you start vocalizing? And that might help you feel like you have more capacity to vocalize. Yeah.
Before we go, you can... we got a question here in case...
No. Pebbly? Pebbly just typed the...
Yeah.
Okay. How do body aches, back aches or headaches? Yeah, I mean headaches are probably the worst ones. That's like, we can't give any medical advice in terms of headaches. Like try to hydrate, take a nap if you're feeling tired or really stressed out from your day. And then I can imagine I think everybody has experienced some kind of a headache before. Like it even affects like whether you can look at bright lights and stuff sometimes. Yeah. So that for sure affects vocalization. Because you need your face and you and you need to think. and it hurts to do that. So that's how it can affect. Yeah. But other than that we can't really give any more medical advice on headaches. Yeah.
So I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Hi, Ellie. You can watch back after we post this on our pages. Oh, we have a how do you heal injured vocal cords? Okay, I can't answer because I'm not an ENT specialist nor a speech therapist, nor is Cass, but we do talk about how you can recover after using your voice in a more intense or exhausting manner. You can skip like maybe 15 to 20 minutes from here and then watch it back later on and let us know what you think. Yeah. So thank you for joining us. Hi Megan. Thanks for joining us. We're unfortunately finishing. You can rewatch our live later on. That's all. If you'd like to find out more, we are also having a joint workshop called Move Your Voice, a systematic guide to voice practice on Tuesday, 15 February. And you can find out more information in our links in our respective bios. There's also 2 accompanying videos where we talk about physical movements you can use to incorporate into your voice practice. So do check it out if you want to try things out for yourself. Anything else we need to say? Oh, we also have an early bird code for this event. The sign up for that ends in less than 2 days. It ends on Monday night, 11:59 p.m. So if you're interested to come for our workshop, or you may be interested, just sign up for this code first, and then you can decide later whether or not you want to sign up for the actual event on Eventbrite. Yep.
Okay. Thank you for joining. I guess one more thing I want to add to the body aches thing is we can talk more about how to help body aches feel less achy, maybe in the next Q&A or something like that. Or some other time. Okay, thank you very much for joining in. For those who joined in,
Hi,
a bunch of people just joined. Hope you check out it after we stop and then we save it. All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good
afternoon.
How do you end this thing? Do I just close?
Make close.
Okay, make close. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.